close to $18 trillion. China has the world's second largest economy. But why are economists criticizing this economic powerhouse? How can a country with 18% of the world's GDP have improved statistics?
China's rise has been something of a miracle.
After 3 years of widespread COVID-19 curbs, China's economy
grew 4.5%.
4.5% in the first quarter of the year.
Between January and March.
Second largest economy.
So, before we begin, today's video will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about China. Let's take a look at the driving force behind China's economic success. Mao Zedong, the leader of the People's Republic of China, died in 1976. The country is now without a leader, and a power struggle erupts. The guy who emerged is the driving force behind China's extraordinary economic rise in recent decades. Deng Xiaoping was his name. As a result of his economic liberalization, China has witnessed an average growth rate of 9%, surpassing Japan, Germany, and France. How did Deng Xiaoping accomplish this? Well, he accomplished it by abandoning his predecessor's ideologically driven economic policies in favor of focusing on opening up new markets to the rest of the globe. The Chinese market now has access to international investment and new technology, which, when combined with the introduction of its huge labor force to the global market, has resulted in massive continuous growth. The country became the world's manufacturing powerhouse, and the phrase "made in China" became a household term. Why is this massive expansion being questioned at all? First and foremost, let us establish that GDP growth is considered a metric of success. If a nation's GDP grows, it is in strong guarantee of a successful government economically. Therefore, tweaking the numbers of GDP growth is very appealing to politicians in democratic countries such as the United States. However, boosting your figures is nearly impossible because statistical agencies operate independently. As a result, Joe Biden cannot simply walk into the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis and demand an improved version of the official GDP. Even if this were to occur, the country's free press would undoubtedly discover the truth and invalidate the numbers. In authoritarian nations, this is not the case. And, as you are probably aware, China is just that. The Chinese Communist Party has complete authority over the country's press as well as the agencies in charge of recording the nation's history. As a result, the country's economic metrics will improve. And without objective investigations conducted by independent researchers, journalists, and analysts, it's difficult to find out about this. Another important issue is how the Chinese record their GDP. Accurately recording economic statistics is a difficult process. Furthermore, data reporting in China is decentralized. This means that numerous local governments record the data before sending it along. This creates the door to enormous differences caused by, for example, inconsistent methodology or purposeful misreporting. In China, intentional misreporting is especially problematic because local officials are promoted depending on their ability to fulfill particular growth targets. Officials lose their jobs if they fail to meet specific targets. This pressure to produce positive outcomes might lead to exaggerated numbers and statistical manipulation. This is why, particularly at the local level, China's growth is frequently questioned. This is corroborated by comments from high-ranking officials, such as Li Keqiang, made public through WikiLeaks, revealing that numbers at the local level are fabricated. What does it signify if China's GDP is significantly lower than its official figures? For one thing, China's present debt-fueled property bubble is significantly more perilous than previously anticipated. Second, the country's debt would be significantly bigger in comparison to the size of the economy, both of which would be very unfavorable and potentially real concerns for the country. Okay, we know that because growth is a measure of an economy's success and because China is an authoritarian dictatorship, the country has both the motivation and opportunity to increase its population. What are some actual evidence of these improved numbers? According to an article by Luis R. Martinez, assistant professor at the University of Chicago, autocracies such as China may exaggerate annual growth by up to 35%. Martinez relates the increase of nighttime lights recorded from space to the self-reported growth numbers of authoritarian governments in his study of economic growth. The reason for this is because while fabricating growth numbers is simple, faking real economic activity in the country is impossible, especially when we can see it from space. Martinez examined 184 countries during 1992 and 2008 and compared the growth of lights to economic growth. He saw this when the lights grew, the economy grew, and a troubling pattern appeared when comparing democratic and autocratic states. Autocratic nations reported up to 35% faster growth than nighttime lights growth. China's average growth rate from 1992 to 2008 was stated to be 6.2%, but it was most likely no higher than 4.9%. Yes, it may appear to be a minor distinction, but keep in mind that we're talking about billions and trillions of dollars, and the figures add up over time. This begs the question, what is China's current potential GDP? Between 1992 and 2021, China reported growth ranging from 14 to 8%. China only increased between 6% and 2%, which is still impressive growth, but far from the published figures. Raises the issue, can we rely on Martinez's report? Well, his report has been thoroughly and critically evaluated by a slew of economists. It has been presented at university and institutional seminars, and it has even been published in the prominent Journal of Political Economy. Furthermore, characteristics such as weaker technological progress and hence larger expansion of night lighting in autocratic countries have been considered. As a result, it is reasonable to assume that Chinese growth over the last decade has been boosted, though to what extent is unclear, and the consequences have yet to be seen. China and the rest of the world are in for an interesting ride, so be sure to stick around. We certainly live in exciting times, and China will be crucial in the next years. Their global influence is determined by their economic prowess, and, if the nation's future power begins to wane, having potentially increased their numbers would be damaging to their already tarnished reputation. So, what are your thoughts? Do you have any ideas for using night lights to assess growth? Please let us know in the comments section below.